What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Think Sync, where I think or he thinks sometimes, and you sync our thoughts. I'm Rich.
And I'm Zeke.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a great episode. Happy Thanksgiving, happy belated Thanksgiving if you celebrated. I hope you ate well. Even if you didn't celebrate it, I hope you ate well. I made some bomb mac and cheese, and it was the only thing that cleared half a pan. I am pretty proud of myself,
Nice.
extremely.
I actually was talking to your mom about that. I called her on Thanksgiving,
Nice.
and she was telling me, she was like, "Oh yeah, Trey called to make sure the my mac and cheese recipe got through." And I was like, "Ah man, ma, he got to be looking over your shoulder." But she was like, "Nah, he was really just doing that thing where he just wants to tell you he knows the recipe, so he just went step by step." I'm like, "Sounds like him." Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds like your mom, man.
That's that's so interesting that she said that because I definitely only call her to be like, "Hey, so it's this, and this," and then she tells me that it's this, and this, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Yes, I know. I just said."
Yeah. All right, but real
Okay,
question, real question.
that's awesome.
Do you put
Mm,
egg in your mac and cheese?
yes,
Great.
do
That's
you not supposed
all
to?
I needed to know.
Yeah,
That's all I needed to know.
that's a guarantee.
There we go.
Egg and milk and whiskey. That's money right there.
Could have sworn you said
That's
whiskey.
money.
I was
Mm,
no, we're not. No. Fireball mac
why
and cheese
not?
is
Hang
not
on.
on the menu. No. No.
Fireball mac and cheese.
No.
Fire hey, that talk about some spicy mac and cheese.
Bro,
You know what I'm saying?
bro, cinnamon mac and cheese is the
That's
same thing.
alcoholic type beat.
It's just wrong, man. We're not doing that, bro. Come on, bro. We're supposed to be breaking them
Okay,
generational
well,
curses.
you know, true. Well, you had a question for me, so I got a question for you. This is gonna be
Okay.
a crazy one, so you gotta get your thinking cap on. Make sure you screw it on.
Lay it on me.
Okay. So you have 3 points in time that you can go back to. You
Mhm.
go back in time before you were born.
Mhm.
You can go to any time during your life,
Mhm.
and you go to a time after you die.
Okay.
If you have to bring back one item from each of those times, when are you going and what are you bringing back?
Okay. So for the first one before I'm born. Ooh. I so am I able to like stay in these places for a good bit of time, or am I only able to like glance?
You can stay there for a decent bit of time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I say you stay there for a year.
Okay, bet. So first thing I'm doing, I'm looking for all the life insurances and no, 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 no. Better yet, better yet, better yet. I'm convincing everybody to set me up with a college fund. That's step one. All my siblings, by the time I come back, I need to know exact routing and accounting numbers so that by the time we're all 23, we're making ducats. All right. Any point in
This is
time,
before you're born.
yeah. Dude, I'm 21. That means
Okay.
I'm 21. That means that'd be at least 22 years. I'll even say 21.1 years of financial just accruance. You know what I'm saying? Put that in a nice
That's
savings
true.
account somewhere overseas. Get it back when I'm this age. That's good ducats. Next
Boom.
moment,
Generational.
yes, sir. Next moment, I will go back in time. I go back in time to right before I like got to college, and I'll tell brother lock in. Be like, look, gang, I'm keeping a bug with you. They gonna love you. They gonna wake up in the morning. They gonna look you in your eye and think, I want you. But you can't fall for the okey doke. Go do your homework, cuz
Mm,
you know what I'm saying? Otherwise, it'd be easier to live life. By the time I'm this age, I probably have a lot more money in my account and a lot less things to worry about. And then finally, what's the last
facts.
one? Sometime after I die or something?
Yeah. Time after you
Um,
die.
Elon Musk head, and I'd scare him with it. He'd probably be
Okay, but
like,
what if you live to like 80 and then you die and Elon Musk has already been dead?
so maybe I shouldn't do that one.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, okay.
Try again.
Ah. Um, I would bring back any kind of tech that would allow painless and consistent body modifications. I'd start a small business giving people BBLs with none of the problems. Perfect BBLs. PB.
You are a genius.
Thank you. I prefer evil in front of that, sir.
Yeah, evil genius.
You know what I mean? Hey.
You freaking madman.
Thank you so much. But
Bring back past.
hmm?
What'd you bring back from the past before you were gone?
Well, technically, I just
Oh,
brought
you brought back money. You brought
mhm,
back money.
a
Yeah,
lot of it.
technically. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, if I were
That's good.
smarter, I would have like taken like maybe some form of pure gold or an important jewel or like the deed to some kind of like blood mine or something extremely unethical
True.
but super
It
like
just
money
really depends on
producing.
what time period you go to
Yeah,
then.
like maybe I write my name on a Rockefeller um like will or something. So when they all died out, or maybe I convinced the what's that super like rich family Rochester. Maybe I convinced the Rochesters to marry me and my family and or something like that. I just want to be rich and happy. Are you happy and rich?
I am rich.
But are you happy?
I am rich.
Oh, okay.
Does that answer the question?
I wish it didn't, but
No, I'm happy, man. I'm happy. It's a beautiful morning. Or yeah.
okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I like your answers, especially the wealth part. That's smart. Have everyone start up a Gerber baby in your name, and they don't
Basically,
even know it yet.
they used to prey on them early parents. Is Gerber still around?
I have no idea. That's a great question. I asked that question like a couple of weeks ago. I was like, "There's no way Gerber baby's still doing their thing." You're
Yeah,
gonna look it
like
up?
I'm
Yeah,
totally
please look
looking
it
up.
up.
Does
Okay.
Gerber
Gerber
baby?
baby seems like something that was really good, but then got bought out,
Ooh, how much do?
and to something that's a lot greedier.
It seems like Gerber's still going strong, bro.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and they have a Gerber Baby 2024 search contest too. I guess it's because we don't look at anything with ads anymore. We can't see what they look like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
facts. You said we don't look at anything with ads. Man, let me tell you, let me give you a brief rant on why we got rid of
Yeah.
television and the cable, and we just went straight back to cable.
Hit me with it.
We just cycled right back to cable because what did cable start with? It started with here's a convenient and easy place for places to not only advertise their things, but also be able to watch TV, and you can buy package deals to all of these different shows with the different access to the things that you like to watch.
So you don't have to
And
just
if you get
sift
this
around on
package,
satellite.
you don't have to sift around on satellite. So what did Netflix do? They said, we're gonna put everything in one very convenient place in a package and everything you get to watch for this amount of money with no ads.
Yep.
What did they do? Everybody else started copying Netflix. Everybody else started copying streaming. And then as people started copying streaming and things started to start the content started to split across the web, YouTube, Netflix, Max, Disney Plus. You basically just ended up buying package deals for the content that you wanted to watch
Yep.
for a streamlined price. But you have to suffer but these are places for ads to farm, or you pay an exclusive amount of money so that way you don't have to watch ads. What did we do? We just went back to cable. And cable is better. That model works better than cable anyways because it's literally all in one spot.
You know,
Net Xfinity on demand? For on demand?
you're not wrong, and I don't like that.
Mhm.
But you're. It's not fair that you're right.
And I know it's not fair.
Like I really like thinking that we have some kind of like I don't know level of autonomy in these things, but we really don't, huh? Just
In autonomy in what way?
like in a way that we're really making good decision when it comes to like I don't know television education and stuff. I guess that's the best
Oh
way to put
yeah.
it. That really sucks.
It really sucks because it's covert. It happened over time. It's less that we're smart, we're not smart. It's more that we're being duped, and like if you've been paying attention, you understand that we went backwards. Now cable good? Not necessarily, but we're paying the same price for cable. We're paying the same price cable as we pay for Hulu and Netflix and Disney Plus and Peacock and blase blase blah.
Right.
It's really fascinating to say the least.
It is. It is. It definitely is. But I want to know that, like, I guess I'm getting the bang for my buck, and I'm realizing that we won't get it. But the funny thing is as we move away from just like the whole just era into like era of standard television, like that day to night television cycle, and we move more into streaming,
Yeah.
we lose something so valuable, and that is the TV dinner. Like that's how television became
Yeah.
such a popular thing. It was through
The
like
nuclear
it
family.
was, yeah. And they had things like the Thursday night blocks, where you can watch everything on ABC and ABC Family, now Freeform. You
Mhm.
had the 6:15 to like 8:45 block on Cartoon Network, which gave you all the
Yes.
best TV shows in 15-minute segments. So Adventure Time, regular show. You had maybe like a Gumball segment up in there. And as
Mhm.
shows became more popular or less interesting, they just took them in and out, took them in and out, took them in and out. But nowadays, since everything's accessible all the time, we notice that there's just this overflow of like entertainment. So it's to the point where everything is both boring and just,
Exciting.
yeah, but there's no point in watching it over a meal. There's no point in watching it with
Yeah.
people or anything like that because it's literally everywhere.
Yeah, because if you don't watch it fast, then it's going to escape the cultural zeitgeist, and you
Mhm,
don't know when you're gonna be able to enjoy this thing or talk about it again, unless you've watched it with specific people.
mhm.
And you're absolutely right. That has gotten rid of the TV dinners. Like my mom used to stand by "Thank God It's Friday," TGIT, or sorry, "Thank God It's Thursday," TGIT.
Yup, I remember those days.
Scandal, like all of that. Black Book, crazy, crazy times. It's interesting. There was this video I posted on my Instagram, reposted it on my story today. There was this video of this like date that was happening at a bar, and there was this girl, her guy friend, and the guy she was interested in. So the guy and the guy she's interested in and the girl leave the bar, and they're really feeling each other's vibe. They're having good conversation, and they're about to leave in the Uber and dip. The guy friend comes out of nowhere. He could tell that he had a thing for Shorty, but more than anything, he was her friend and was trying to, push that make sure that, they got together and really was what's the word? Was wingmanning real hard. So he comes up, he's like, hey, like, you guys really got a killer vibe. I hope you got, get home safe. It was really good talking to you guys. And he walks off, he's kind of wingmanning for he's done. He's drunk too, like he's stumbling, like he's smiling ear to ear. Um, and his girl calls to him and is like, hey, you good? You okay? You get a ride? You gonna get home okay? And he looks at her and he smiles, like, I'm okay. I'm cool. I'm cool. I got a ride. I'm gonna find my way back. You guys have a good night. And he runs off and he's skipping off and he clicks his feet. And that was cool. And that was cool. And why is it that when I opened the comment section, all I saw was the masculine urge to say, I'm cool.
Masculine urge to say I'm cool, but you know what, bro? That's the realest thing.
That was
Like,
so weird.
oh my gosh, we wake up sometimes, bro, and you can be down in the dumps. You can be really on your last leg. But when somebody asks you, "Hey, like, how you been? Are you okay? What's going on?" You gotta hit them with the, "Hey, no, I'm
I
cool.
don't
I'm
know. I'm
chilling."
all right. I'm chilling.
Man, I crud you not. I kick you not. I poop you not. I'm not gonna curse. I have literally been bleeding at the forehead. Had to get stitches on my eyebrow. And when my mama asked me, "Am I okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm cool. It don't even hurt for real." I was doing this at like what 9? You think
Died.
it's unchanged now that I'm 21? Nothing has changed, bro. I'm still just chilling. I'm still just cool, bro. But what is a time that you kind of just went with it? Like were there ever times in your life where you were just, man, I'm cool. I'm chilling. Things happen.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like as a guy, I'm always saying I'm cool, I'm fine. Even when I'm not really cool or fine, like, what is a time? I mean, to tell you the truth, I feel like when I'm not cool or fine, the people close to me, the people that at least know me, they see me on my normal, and then they see me not normal, they know that I'm not cool. And I'll say, "No, I'm chilling, I'm cool," but I'm not cool. And, I'll make hints to it. I will try. I've been doing a lot better recently at expressing that maybe something's on my mind, but I'm not w- ready to express it because I don't know how to express it well, but that the feeling is there. And I'm hoping that I'm saying I'm all right, but this is enough
Mm.
to communicate that kind of feeling.
That's real. That's definitely real. I think the older we get, we have to be more prepared to do things like that. We can't, at least I feel,
Mhm.
we can't always just bask in the idea that saying I'm cool is enough anymore. Part of being
No,
an adult and breaking those generational curses, coming after the things that really made our childhoods worse and things that'll make childhoods better going forward for other children, is admitting when things are wrong so we can be okay when it matters.
matters.
You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? I think traditionally a lot of what we do under the gauge of the masculine urge, the gaze, I'm sorry, of the masculine urge is performative. In the sense that a lot of it doesn't solve anything. It's not for anybody. We do it because we don't enjoy being uncomfortable with it. Um, and it lurks us into these spaces where everybody's like that. Everybody's saying, "Don't ask for help." Everybody's saying, "Oh, well, this isn't important to talk about," or, "Oh, well, that's the normal, that's the standard, that's the okay, that's the okie doke." But instead of all these things being beneficial to us, we're just echoing off our own pain, and then it leads to all sorts of crazy things. Like men have the highest suicide rate. You know,
Mm,
we have men who don't go outside. We have men who develop pocket spaces like incels. We have men who jump into red pill. We have men who jump into all sorts of things, but it comes from a place of a lot of times, right?
mhm.
Comes from the place of shuttling feelings into resentment and into burden and into
Pardon.
problems and things like that. Um, but
Absolutely.
I also think it's a blessing that we've avoided this because you and I were not traditionally male and masculine. Not traditional male, but traditionally masculine. We are
Nutrition
men. We were
masculine.
we were born men, I think.
Probably more
Um,
men than most.
I mean, yeah, because I think that where a lot of people harp on the idea of masculinity, we harp on the idea of manhood. Those are very different.
Different. Extremely different. Extremely different. Being a
Like
man is about principles. Being a man is about drive, it's about being
facts,
assured.
facts. And I think on the other side of things, masculinity is about the showing of you being a man. It's about appearing more attractive. It's about having the biggest muscles. It's about doing this the perfect way or being the perfect protector or the perfect provider, but it's all just showiness. It's not actually doing, it's just appearing you can do it. I think once you get to this place in life where you are away from the idea of I have to be the perfect mate, away from that animalistic kind of thinking, and you evolve yourself in a much more open-mindedness towards emotion, towards stability, towards communication, you will find a lot of shortcomings in the traditionally masculine model,
Mm,
you know? But going back to the traditionally masculine thing that I was just talking about earlier about you and I, we grew up in a very different environment in comparison to a lot of our peers,
very women dominated
especially
spaces.
women dominated. And how do you think that affected you growing up?
I mean, women are the backbone of my entire family. I just came back from Houston, Texas, and
Hmm.
the oldest person in my family is my mama Lena, 92, going on
Wow.
92 years old. She has the most memory, she has the most experience. She has helped so many people as a social worker and as a teacher. And the majority of the people I look up to are women in my life. My grandma, my mom, my great grandma, my cousins who are
Hmm.
successful. And I think that just that showed me that success wasn't inherently rooted in me being a man.
Mm.
And I hope that it kind of it set me up in bad ways as well, like not being able to perform perform masculine traits as well as
Mhm,
I could, I think, like in a way that kind of helps me fit in more with other men
right.
or being able to, I guess, date better.
Mhm,
Because at the end of the day, it's still that kind of it's almost that binary,
yeah.
and being able to appeal um, to be able to appeal to other people.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I think that a lot of it does come from that. Something you said that spoke out to me just a little bit was where you said that it kind of hurt you in your attempts to speak to other men and like build up those boundaries. I mean, not boundaries, but bonds, as well as to date and things like that. And that drives a pretty interesting point, which is that a lot of what we consider masculine works better in the social sense.
Mhm,
Like what you're gonna do to contribute to your love life and what you'll do to contribute to your masculine, like male relationship space, a lot of it is going to be utter nonsense. Like I can't tell you how many times oh well how many girls you got came up in a conversation. But
so
last
many
time I checked,
conversations.
didn't we go to an all boys school? Why are you worried about how many girls I got? There's no girls here to
There's
compare
no
yourself
girls
to.
here. There's
We're
no
acting
girls
like it's
between
straight.
in 20 miles.
Come on, come on.
Come on.
And like stuff like that did impact me as well, like as you know, I've never been, and I guess it applies for you as well, but we've never been in spaces where they didn't think we were a little fruity. That's like the
No,
funniest thing ever.
that was the one thing and that I had to deal with when I came to college that like,
Yeah,
I'm not fruity. I'm not fruity. I'm just not like these other I can't say the N word.
exactly that. But it's not a bad thing. Like it's honestly, I consider it flattering when someone's like, "Oh, well, I was just so comfortable around you, and I never felt like pressure to be this way or the third. I never felt like sought after in that way. I felt like you were just approaching me as a friend, so I just assumed you were sex or something like that." I think it's the highest level of compliment to me because I love
It
the fact,
yeah.
yeah, like I love the fact that you can be okay with me just making you comfortable. I mean, it does come at a cost, like if I do see you that way and you don't think I see you that way, it could be hard. But hell, I got a girl now, bro. I'm satisfied. I'm not looking
Yeah,
outside the pot no ways. I let the whole world think I'm gay. If that just meant that I could chill, mind my business, and no one's in my relationship anyways. If everybody think when I'm talking about my girl, they think I'm talking about a man, that is cool by
that is
Zeke.
cool.
Maybe not her, but that's cool by Zeke. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
um,
she may not like
but
that.
back to the performative side of masculinity and things of that nature, do you necessarily think it's a bad thing, or is it just one of nature?
I don't think that performative I don't think masculinity being performative is a bad thing. I just think
Hmm.
it leads to bad things. Like toxic masculinity is like the peak of performing man. Like that's what they're saying when they talk about masculine toxic masculinity. It's the idea that you not only don't show your emotions, but you hide your emotions behind like ego and pride and anger and like your status, and
Hmm.
you try to perform to fight against the things that you feel. And that's a bad thing that comes from. You know what else bad comes from? Like a performative masculinity from like not being able to understand your internal world.
Hmm.
Red pill,
Ugh.
incel. Yeah,
Ugh.
we don't like that.
I don't like those guys.
We don't like
But
those
you know
guys.
what?
They're a little, but I understand that pipeline. I
Yeah.
understand how you can fall into that trap if you've never been able to separate your identity as from being just a man or
Right.
from being a man, you know?
Right. But I don't even, and like you said, I understand it in the sense like, okay, so let's get one thing straight. I love women.
Right.
I love women on
Oh
a
my gosh.
deeply true level. Like I cannot remember a time in my life where I was not around women and also simultaneously in a space of comfort. Like I may have been in an
That's cool.
argument, I may have been in a position where I'm like, yo, like, bruh, like I don't want to deal with that. But to lay it out on the table, none of that has mattered because I know for a fact if it was put up against the world, Martians got a gun to my head and a scalpel to my neck. I can firmly say that I am genuinely more comfortable around women than men, and it's because I can be
100%.
myself. But I also understand I also understand that there are times in other people's lives, and I'm fortunate enough to not have that experience myself personally, but there's times in people's lives where the rejection has always outweighed the realization, you know?
Absolutely.
So we as men are often uh, like I guess you could say acquainted with pride and ego.
Ego.
Um
Mhm.
and unfortunately the downside of that, especially if you're around those spaces full of non-traditional masculinity, but a right-wing thought process, like an alt-right kind of thought process, you will
Mhm.
stumble your way into a space that men are entitled to women. Men are responsible to have the access to women. That's a part of women's responsibilities. And it makes me so upset because the truth be told, a lot of the reasons that we have people in those spaces is because they are so lame. They are so lame and lamer than they should ever be, and because of that, they must look outwardly. And no one's ever like put them on game. No one's ever been like, "Hey, bro, like you can do this instead. You can be this kind of person instead." No one's ever like grabbed 'em by hand, "Hey, bro, hey, little bro, this ain't really cool." But instead of just being like, "Hey, shorty, what's your favorite Pokemon card? If you could shove it up your butt." Instead of saying something crazy like that and extremely off-putting when you first meet somebody, how about you start with a, "Hi, my name is Paul. Get a haircut and put some Vaseline on your lips and try again."
And try again.
And try again, and that's the big part. You gotta try again, but you can't always just be some kinda, I guess, danger or feel like a threat to somebody and expect them to be excited to hang around you or embrace certain parts of yourself because that's just not gonna happen, unfortunately,
Absolutely.
but incel, we gotta remember, stands for involuntary celibate. That's what incel stands for,
Yeah.
and part of the reason that y'all have reached this point of involuntary celibacy is because you guys will unfortunately look out of the shell of common sense people, and you'll look for the big muscular macho man because that's what we portray to be. Like you looking for the Popeye Sailor build.
Popeye.
Popeye the Sailor build. Oh my goodness, butchered
Popeye the
that.
celery. The celery.
The
Celery.
Celer the Celer No, you look for the, Popeyes the Cellar Man build, um, like Andrew Tate's, Fresh and Fits,
Yeah.
even some just other spaces that I can't name because, guys, once again, I'm not associated, thank God.
Thank
Um,
God.
but those guys are gonna teach you once again, like I said, about that entitlement factor and things like that. They're gonna convince you have to be buff, make 6 figs, drive a Bugatti, all sorts of random things in order to get to these people. But if you
They
look at
have
the way
to tell you that you have to perform and
high key,
show your
high
masculinity,
key, high
which is not
key,
true.
it's just not. But
They're
we
not
can step
telling you
away
to
from that.
cultivate yourself. Yeah, we can step away from that. Yeah, I think you and I are a good example. We had that conversation a while back how
Mhm.
we didn't know how to truly express it, that we could be that where we could be masculine, where we could have these masculine traits um to um, guide and cultivate our true natures of like being nurturing, of being providers, of being a safe space, taking care of people. Those are the
Right.
things that I want to show off and be, and how I portray that through masculinity. I mean, even as a kid,
Mhm.
I don't I think that I was always very boyish. I've always been a very boyish kind of kid. Boys will be boys, like
Yeah.
we're going to see these images of what we can be, the greatness of men that we've seen, and we're going to try and emulate that in some way. We're going
Right.
to try and be that in some way. And as a boy, even in my family, I was still that kid to be like, "I can do this, I can do that." Like, "Oh,
Right.
let me help you with this, grandma." Like, "Oh,
Right.
yeah." Like, I can carry a conversation. I can carry these chairs, and that feels really assuring when it's seen, and when it's
Mhm.
not seen, and when my internal world is disrupted.
Mhm.
Had I not had that outlet to at least say that something was wrong, I don't know how that boyishness could have turned negative.
Right. And that's real, bro. That's real. I thank God that we were raised by women. Um, I look at like the people who I could have been like. And that's not a slight to anybody, like, but I just genuinely look at the people I could have been. Like, I find myself mirrored in a lot of my peers in negative lights, and I have to take the moment to recenter myself a lot. You can get
Mm,
caught in the foot traffic, and
mhm.
you can tell a lot of the reasons that we're stuck in these periods of aggressiveness and entitlement and disrespect and disdain for the people around us who may not just fit the bill like we do is because we internally are fearful of the rejection of others. We don't like the hubbub that a lack of tradition may create. I think
Absolutely.
that when we break traditions, we open floors for conversation. And unfortunately, not everybody is, I guess you could say, experienced in those same rooms of progress as others.
No.
And this is not an insult, but it's simply that not everybody is going to read the same books you do. They're not going to watch the same TV shows as you. Maybe we don't understand intersectionality the same way,
Same way.
but
I
we,
think
a-
that you and
Mhm.
I are kind of understanding and talking about masculinity as a spectrum.
Yeah,
What do
exactly that.
yeah,
Exactly
what
that.
do you think about that?
Um, if I were to compare it to a video game, masculinity can exist separately from femininity or something like femininity. Um, a great example of this is if you were to have a character like, and you're creating them on like say Arc or something, right?
Mhm,
And in Arc, there's a slider when you're like doing like something like skin tone. Potentially, there might be one for the like the warmth of someone's skin and then the darkness of the skin,
mm,
right? So it's like you can have someone who's very, 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 very bright and they'll still have like a warmness to them, right? And in the game, that might be expressed as kind of like a golden or a like a yellow to dark red undertone, right?
right.
But then the skin itself may be going from somewhere from like literally one shade off pure white to maybe like one of those dark, so dark it looks like indigo, and those are both separate of each other, but they interact with each other on that specific being, right? But they don't affect each other. You being indigo doesn't mean you won't have red undertones. And I think to apply that to that same principle of a spectrum, you can be the manliest man in the room. You can be the most masculine soul in the room, right? You can do all those things, but you can still protect your feminine energy. And I think, in the sense of feminine energy, to define it under my example, my understanding of it, I should say,
Please.
um, it would be one of a more nurturing space, one that encourages emotional communication, one that provides a bit of sanctuary from the restlessness of the day. It provides stillness. It provides a room for growth. And I think that on the other end of things, on a, I guess, separate spectrum, to keep with the example, lol, masculinity provides a much more unmoving and kind of stronger presented energy.
Mhm,
Like it's one where you are a bit more confident within yourself, even to the point of cockiness. When you go too far, on a negative side, it can be presented as aggression,
mhm,
things like that. And to even it out on the feminine side, it can be presented as sensitivity if you've gone too far or oversensitivity.
mhm.
And I think that it's important to understand that those distinctions don't take away from your manhood or your womanhood or your in between them hood, but
Right.
instead it caters the natural experience you have with the world, and it's not something to shy away from. you
Not
know
at all.
um Growing up, especially being in an all boys school, especially being in settings from being around only women to all just
All
straight
men?
men, I got the question a lot of the times within myself, well, am I a man? Am I what it is to be a man? Will I grow up to be the guy my father is? Will
No,
I grow up to be the person my grandfather is? Will I grow up to be the person that I want to be? Will I look like Malcolm?
absolutely.
Will I look like Martin? Or will I look like Martina? And those questions rang in my head. They rang all the time. And it took a very, very long time to realize that the things we put in order for ourselves as the blueprint for your manhood, the blueprint for your your final self, I feel like should always be changing. As we grow and as we develop, there should be things we nix and things we add on. There is no perfect person.
No,
But B, I think that we had to reconsider what we interpreted to be our ideal person. That's it's scary, man. It's scary to grow up to be the guy you wanted to be off rip or the guy you wanted to be at the end because they're not all that is you. Like you put away parts of yourself to achieve that person. For
Yeah.
me, when I realized that I dipped too far in on the side of being a masculine man, like I'm not gonna lie, bro, working at so many restaurants and working in blue collar industries, working in factories, working outside, cleaning things all the time, working in the service industry, doing things like that, it made me aggressive. It made me
Mm,
defensive. It made me walled up in ways I'd never been walled up before. I'd always been a bit of a hothead growing up.
right.
But I was a hothead who go in a corner, stop talking, and just cry. I'd be a complainer. I wouldn't be the type to go throw a fist, throw a punch, threaten somebody. But there were moments in my life, like recently, not crazy recently, but recently enough, that I recognized I was like, yo, Z, like, let's get back to the plot of the movie. You feel me?
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering because,
Center myself.
yeah, like, have you ever had those experiences yourself? Have you ever felt so like on the
I
other side
al
of the slider?
Yeah, I always feel super separated from, like, being more of a man. Like, I think nowadays I'm trying to emulate more masculine traits that I'm comfortable with
Mm-hmm.
rather than trying to perform being a man, um, in a ways that are damaging to me because my internal world I'm starting to learn that I have to be very careful with myself. I have to be very understanding while also being assured. And when I am assured, I don't have to show assuredness. I just will be assured. And I think when I was dealing with that, that was freshman year, funny enough. I think that you were trying to say that when we had this conversation a while back, guys, and we were talking about when I was first getting into the gym, there was a kind of shift. There was a difference in the person I was becoming. I was going to develop into somebody different. I wasn't going to be the Rich that everybody knew from eighth grade to high school. And then at some point, I just kind of didn't change. I didn't become that gym bro, hothead, cocky, hungry kind of guy. I still think I kept that nurturing, that kind of emotional vulnerability or willingness to be emotionally vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
when I was going through after I was done in my freshman year. And that was interesting to notice, not because I knew that that was going on, because I was trying to be the best man I could be, but I was trying to identify so much with being a man. That really changed during my love and sex class. I loved my love and sex class so much because I went from being, guys, if you don't know, please don't know this. Actually, don't even remember what I'm about to say. But
Please.
during COVID, I was falling down that red pill kind of like trap, that kind of rabbit hole
Yeah.
because I was rejected a lot. I'm still rejected a lot. I'm still rejected a lot, but I was rejected a lot. And over COVID, that just kind of seethed, that kind of festered, that kind of made me, like annoyed in a lot of ways. And I was falling into that rabbit hole. And even though I was never going to stay there because I was raised by women, taking that sex class really showed me the the inherent division that is being driven between masculinity and femininity as man or woman. But that's not the same thing. We're not men or women more or less. You, as a woman, are not more of a man or too much of a man when you're assertive, when you're self assured, when you speak up for what you believe in. You're not more of a man. You have more masculine traits. You have a hard masculine presence. And I didn't really understand that, and I didn't really understand my relationship to that until my love and sex class. That was really nice. I think that um, that helped me one come to terms with the fact that I'm gonna be perceived as gay, and I'm not gay. I'm gonna be perceived as a little gay, I guess because of that that view in that view or that like gaze, especially in college. Um, and that also helped me realize that. I don't have to perform all the time. And when I'm around guys, funny enough, I've also realized this, I do perform a decent amount more. I'm definitely more of a guy when I'm with guys.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I actually like that. I like that I get that balance between being able to kind of like be more boyish and show off, and then also be with my girlfriends and be a lot more questioning and being a lot more like I guess available and thought provoking. I really like that.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. I'm not gonna lie, I think that something that stood out to me a while ago, and I think it's a good time to kind of bring it up, is that as men, we are dangerously behind the curve when it came to that line of thinking. What you just expressed, the
Mhm.
thing that it doesn't take away from who you are to embrace both sides of yourself. Like
Yeah.
it's not like a coin where you can only view it in one way at one time. You
Right.
can be who you want to be in the same breath that you are who you are. And
Mm.
it's so fun to discover how much more of ourselves we can be when we embrace different spaces and sides of ourselves. Um, Humans are a lot in a lot of ways. We're a lot.
Mm.
Literally that. We're a lot.
Well, yeah, we're a lot. Yeah.
So it's so
Complicated.
silly, and I think that it's the beginning of higher education and like intellectual drive to first admit that there is no absolute. So to treat yourself as the first
That's an
absolute
absolute.
is insane. It's asinine. It's benign. No, it's not benign, but it's the opposite of benign. What is that? Damaging, I guess you could say.
Damaging. Damning.
But yeah, there we go. Like, look at it this way:
Okay.
you are in Texas. You look around and you see what Texans see. You see buildings, you see roads, you see people, you see toads, all the things that make you a Texan. You don't see toads in Texans. I've never seen one.
I've seen
But
hats.
hey,
Texas.
Texas. But on the other side of the world, now you're in China. All right. You see roads, you see buildings, you see people, you
You see
see
toads.
you see toads, you know? But it's very different. It's very outside your scope. You don't speak Cantonese, you don't speak Mandarin, you don't speak any form of Chinese dialect that I know of. You don't speak Taiwanese if you're over near there. But you're still a human. You're still a person. They still have the same parts as you, but the way that it's expressed is very different from the way that it's expressed here. And a lot of that comes from a deeper level of culture. A
Mhm.
lot of that comes from a different standing in societal understand like literally societal foundation. Like you look at
Absolutely.
Black Americans, you look at minorities just in the states in general. And
Mhm.
obviously, we'll come to the conversation of, well, how did the breaking up of the diaspora, or the formulation of the diaspora through the transatlantic slave trade and things like that, how did that affect us in our development of our social structures and our families and everything? And a lot of it does come from the fact that we took non-traditional people and beings and threw them into nuclear families and structures, and then we broke it up and put it back together and broke it up again and put it back together. In reality, Black Americans honestly have not had the time to genuinely build up the levels of culture, the levels of depth other places have. And it's
Absolutely.
a lot of the time because we treat our blackness as a eyesore. It's because not me, of course. I love my black. It's beautiful. But
Our
people,
blackness is sometimes performative.
it is very performative. But I would ask that we shift the gaze away from it being performative, but instead it being expressive.
Mm,
And that's very different.
it's
That's
very
the thing
different.
that I feel we're missing when we're trying to connect masculinity to, ooh, wait, oh my gosh, thought bubble. That felt great. When we're trying to connect masculinity to manliness and things like that, right? So, for instance, we can take the Black woman.
Okay.
Black culture is driven by our Black women. All right.
Absolutely.
Um, But one thing that is realized through being a Black American, through being within the space of Blackness, right, is that our art is on our bodies. Our arts is through our voices, it's through our minds, it's through our language, it's through our usage of language, our fluctuations, things like that. So Ebonics, um, so jewelry, so our hairs, so so our outfits, so what we wear,
Mm.
you know, um, and even things like our accents and the silliness behind it to other people, and then it's mimicked, and then it's massacred, it's bludgeoned, it's battered, it's bruised, and then it's shown in such these ugly ways, you know, and then they look at our women. People look at our women, they consider them aggressive. They consider by their tone of voice, or they consider them like rude or all this stubborn, blah 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 blah, all these negative words. When really it's just expressive. It's not performative at all. You know, people attack what we have and they use it for themselves, and then they bring it back in all these different ways. Like people on the internet using slang that's just Ebonics, and then
It's just about it.
changing the meaning so deeply. Like,
Absolutely.
great example, oomph, OOMF.
Oh yeah, you gotta put some oomph into it.
Right, right, right. How about I was just on Twitter the other day, and
Mhm.
someone put a community note saying that oomph stood for one of my followers.
What?
Baby, that is not a
It's not that is not
wait,
an
wait, wait,
acronym.
wait, 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 wait.
Okay.
It's not your business.
Right.
It's not your business. If you listen to us, if you're listening to us and you know what we talking about, then maybe you know what we talking about. But the reason that it's ours and not yours is that we must protect it. It must be in our circle.
Our
And when
circle.
you enter our circles and you enter our spaces, and then you look around you and you're trying to pick up what you can find and you try to understand what you see, you're going to interpret it in the same way that um they interpreted Tarzan and when Jane and Tarzan was all that, and they come in there, these men are savages. They're ruthless. They're crazy.
Ruthless.
They don't know what they're thinking, know what they're saying. Are they eating with their hands? And
They
things
have
like that.
fangs on.
And things like that will contribute negatively to the light that we are seen in. So to attribute that back to things like masculinity and femininity,
Mhm.
you know, when things like the 80s and the crack epidemic happened, you know, um, and the black household was just thrown to pieces, you know, the war on drugs, things
Mhm.
like that, where you could be arrested for
Yeah.
having a literal half a gram on you
Ounce.
and stuff like that. An ounce, I'm sorry, have an ounce on like anything like that, right? That affecting the way that your family dynamic was taking place for a very long time. The black woman was both the mother and the father because the father was always in jail because he was somewhere trying to provide where he couldn't. You know, this did contribute to a place where the house was broken. You know, there were things that had to be done. But as we shift away from that and we're starting to learn more about ourselves, about community, about communication, about growth, about love and kindness and all those things that we truly are, yes, there are going to be some stumbling blocks and people are going to tell you that you are more masculine, you are more feminine, you are doing this and the third, when really you are just expressing. You're not performing, you're expressing. It's who you are.
Expressing.
It's not who you want to be.
Right.
You
I'm
know,
not
this
based
isn't
off of this binary. I don't have
exactly.
to adhere to this at all. I can just be a person.
Exactly. Exactly. The binary thing is a myth. It's a complete myth.
Really.
You know, there is no person on this planet who is 100% the whole way, anywhere in any
Literally.
space, you know? Because if you were to be 100% of one thing, you are 100% of nothing on the other side. That means you are 0%. There is no 0%. That's the same reason that whenever you look in statistics, you look in the vote counts, you look in anything, you will always see a 99%. You will never see a 100% because to say 100% is to lie. There is always something there. You know, there is no place with nothing. So embracing that within your masculinity or within your femininity, embracing that within your manhood, your womanhood, things like that, you can find yourself in a much better place by embracing that part of yourself. You know, do you agree with me, Rich? You see where I'm going with that? How do you feel about that?
No, I totally see that. I think it all makes more sense. And just to go back just a little bit, I mean, you're totally right. Everything goes back to slavery. I mean, the division of the family within black people, within just to sow division, to take away our language and the way we communicate it, and having even intelligence being rooted back to more whiteness and less masculine than
Hmm.
not, like that is crazy, and it's still being felt, and it's still being felt today. And I really I want there to be more of a space in, I think, media, which I think we're getting to at this point, like, and to be for there to be an understanding between knowing when to take care and when to take care of yourself internally and embrace yourself and also perform and show off who you are to everybody and to show off who you are and communicate who you are to other people because that's how you attract people. The more in yourself and the more you understand yourself, the more you attract people.
Facts.
And that's all I want to do. Hey,
Facts.
you got my number. No,
That's sick. But that's
I'm
also something I wanted to ask you about before we really kind of headed towards the close of things. Do
Mhm.
you feel like there's a way for us to be more aware of how we ingest media? As somebody who kind of left that red pill space and someone who kind of just embraced that there's more to himself than just one part, how did you kind of work your way out of that space and become aware of what you were ingesting being something less than positive to you?
I had to ask myself the question, and I think other people have to ask themselves the question, is what I want more than the grudge that I hold against, what I want? Um, how much, what is important to me? And what is important to me is cultivation of relationships. I can't cultivate relationships if I hold a grudge because people in my past didn't like who I was. Now I shouldn't be rejecting myself because of that either. So I think that media is doing two things, one good and one bad. Media is doing a great job of communicating everyday experiences in a digestible way. The chill guy is real. The chill guy is me.
I'm just
That's
a
the
chill
point of
guy.
the chill guy. I'm just a chill guy. That's not wrong. But the chill guy is never in a chill situation. The chill guy is always, it's a BS. He just sit there with the hands in his pocket. But that makes sense and that makes me want to not necessarily emulate that and still be chill, but it helps me understand it more. But one thing media doesn't do well is it doesn't show both perspectives. It doesn't let you have the full context. It tells you to pick a side. It tells you to be on this side, and if you're not on that side, you're wrong. Or be on this side. If you're not on this side, you're wrong. Um, and media is so expanding that it's really hard to not get into an echo chamber or strive to tell people not to get in an echo chamber. It's really hard to. I tried to dive out of an echo chamber, and the more I delved on that side, the angrier I got.
What do you
But
mean?
I still like, you know, Jeff Mead.
No. Who's that?
There's a guy on TikTok. His name is Generic Art Dad, and he was talking about the election, and he was genuinely asking people who voted for President Trump
Hmm.
what they thought about what he was saying on television during the 2024 election. Because he was saying a lot of stuff. He was talking about lining up people, shooting them, blah, 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 blah. And he was genuinely asking people, I hear it a certain way and I fear it. When you heard that, what did you think? And the response of this guy named Jeff Mead, he said, well, what's the proof? Like, what's the context? Like, can you give me a source? And yeah, do you and
Mm,
immediately when he asked that, I
mm,
was like, that's not what he asked though. He asked
mm,
you for your perspective. He didn't ask
mm.
you, he wasn't asking to be proven right or wrong. He was asking for your perspective. So generic art dad comes back and he's like, I don't know how you want me to respond to that. You want me to give him an example? I asked you a personalized experience. I asked you about a question. I asked you a question that was about your subjective experience. It's inherently a subjective question. And then they kind of get into this like war. And I see the comment section of Jeff Mead. Keep in mind, this guy's black and everybody in his comment section is white. I kid you not. And he's saying this and he's speaking in a way that's calm and intellectual. And the more I listen, the more I'm like, this is manipulative. This is like this isn't you engaging in an intellectual conversation. This is you goading people into feeding into your rhetoric and into not actually sharing your opinion on what's going on, but trying to prove it as fact because they are wrong, which isn't, you have to be able to see both sides and understand why one side feels the same, feels a certain way versus the other, is really all I'm saying. And as much as I didn't like Jeff Mead, I literally went through all of his responses and was trying to understand where he was coming from. I was reading his comments as if I was part of that community as well. Not to take their talking points and stick them on a social media and say oomph means something that it actually doesn't mean, but
Right.
trying to say, hey, I learned this new term called oomph and it's really interesting. I'm trying to understand your talking points and be able to put myself in perspective of it. Like, where do I stand? Um, where do I stand in your worldview?
That's real.
Um,
That's very real.
I was really only able to escape it because I was really only able to escape red pill because one, COVID ended, so I was able to be around women again. I realized how much I liked women, and I realized how fragile my internal world was, how much I wasn't taking care of myself after rejection. It's not the rejection that hurts. It's the aftermath of the rejection, how you handle it after. So
Hmm.
I
One
said
thing,
aftermath and after. That's
it's
funny.
okay. We got
You
what
were
you said.
saying?
Firstly, thank you much. Thank you much for just that story. I think that it provided a lot of insight and understanding of what exactly it means, at least to me, to be in a space where you genuinely just are not being told no. Talk about like last week's episode, we talked a bit about how yes men can hurt you. This in
Mm,
itself is a furtherance of that. Having only people that tell you one thing, they shove it down your throat, and then you lose the response that you knew you had. You lose that space, you lose that sense of self, and then when it comes back and you're just kind of trying to swim out of something, you will find yourself deeper in it unless you know what you're looking at.
absolutely.
Um, and it kind of funnels back to this term that's been floating around the internet right now, which of course is media literacy.
Yeah, that's been happening a lot. I've
A
been
lot
seeing
of
that a
you,
lot
a
recently.
lot of you people skipped English class.
Real bad.
A lot of y'all weren't paying attention. So I'm going to give you the quick, easy version. All right.
Yeah,
Sometimes when people are telling you something, you have to look for figurative language. You have to look for words they use in replacement of another intention or action that they have in mind. If I tell you not all skin folk are kinfolk, right? That's a figure of speech. All right. Another way to say that is that not everybody who has the same complexion as you will share the same interests of you moralistically, right? So that's a usage of a old saying. That's a usages like of something that we use in the past to tell you, hey, this thing is not always this way. It's a shortening, right?
absolutely.
So sometimes we have to listen to people and we have to understand that what they're saying isn't always so face value, right? Obviously, when you say not all skinfolk are kinfolk, of course, me and Rich are not direct cousins. But if we were to look deeper, we'll notice that there is the underlying message of, well, maybe we don't share the same interests. Thank God that's not true because he's a great co host, right?
Darn right.
But let's move on to something more in your face, right? Let's look at my least favorite podcast, Fresh and Fit. Um,
Yuck.
so instead of language, physical language, let's look at actions, habits, and things like that. All right, so Fresh and Fit has two hosts. And I'll be honest with you guys, I don't know their names. One's name is Myron, the other one is a dark skinned black guy. I don't remember his name.
That's his name.
Um, dark skinned black guy? Okay, dark skinned black guy and Myron. So my biggest beef with Myron is that, or the Fresh and Fit podcast in general, is that it uses their platform often a time to bring on respectfully bimbos. Um, and just people who lack the depth of conversation to defend themselves, to put up with anything that people are saying. They take away, I guess you could say, the illusion of this. What's the word I'm looking for here? They take away the illusion that or they add the illusion, I should say. That's a better way, but they add
Yeah.
the illusion that this is all that people amount to, you
Yeah.
know? And they want you to be unintelligent when you come on this podcast. They look for people who are maybe in previous years, like Rich in the past, where you were struggling with your sense of self or maybe your identity or what it meant to be a certain person or of character. And it leads to these terrible conversations. Like one time, and they've been floating around my For You page for a minute now, and
Real
I hate
bad.
it every time because it's never them.
Same.
It's always people reacting to them because they're
Shout
doing
out
such
Abba and Preach
problematic
because
things.
that's how I know about them.
High key, don't know. High key.
Aiki.
But I saw this video of
Mhm.
like some of the co-hosts in, or maybe just guests, I'm not sure, two women, in the Fresh and Fit podcast, alongside this dark skinned woman with, I want to say, blonde braids and glasses, and they jumped her in the
Mhm.
elevator, and it made me so upset. It made me so upset on multiple levels. But
What?
and there was this other time, and I'm not even going to go into that, but protect Black women. That's all I'm going to say about that
And
because
that's all Imma say.
no other response is necessary there. That man is terrible. They should not have a podcast. I guess I said more, but on the other side, right? Most recently, you see old Myron, and he's blaming something. I can't remember exactly what he was saying, but basically, he blamed the state of the world on Jewish people. No, not Jewish people. He said the Jews. He said something about people of color. He said minorities, things like that. And I'm listening to him, and I'm looking at his previous views about women, stuff like that. He was just recently calling a woman nigger. Um,
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry to just hard ER you guys. I should have said trigger warning. Please don't cancel me. I might blip that out, honestly. But oh man, because I said that with some force in my chest. Oh man, I don't mean it. But he said all these things, and all I could think about is how the Nazi movement started. It made me think about how fascism takes place. And the way that those seeds are rooted and they begin to thrive is the embracing of blaming of different cultures and becoming a mono minority and type like that. We have to be aware enough to realize when people are playing with your face. You have to be aware enough to realize that this is not the state of being. You can't look at everybody's platform and assume what they're saying is for peace or progression. And to be real with you, even pushing war has its merits, but it never has merits to demerit other people for no reason. There is no reason this man should be on a podcast calling women the hard ER, disrespecting the woman, talking about she has a wig on when she has braids. That's
Wig on.
insane.
Yeah.
Blaming
That's
Jews for
insane.
whatever. Like, bro, the not even gonna say it, but either way it goes, like, bro, the only time you should be disrespecting anybody is never. There is no time. There is no time for. There's only time for civility. There's only time for understanding and respect. And if you are not willing to educate yourself, do not go around miseducating other people. All right. And that is the biggest example of somebody who uses their platform for evil,
Evil and
you
spread hate.
know. But if you look at places like Fox News during the Kamala campaign, that's a great example. If you look
Mhm.
at early ads in like television series that were going against things like same-sex marriage or equal voting rights or women's rights or anything like that or any level of just civil rights, you will find that there is always somebody on who looks like you on the other side telling you that what you're looking for is wrong. But you have to be able to sift through the noise. Remember what we say about things being performative, because a lot of the times they will get to that place. And
Mhm.
people like Myron, people like Fox News on Fox News, people even like President-elect Trump will have a whole good old time proving to us every time that they will not change. And a lot of it is just performative. They do it for the likes, the giggles, the ha-has, the hee-hees. But when it's time to lead, when it's time for people to show you what you know and what you need, they will lead you into a ditch and use your bodies to walk out of them. So remember that. But that's all I
Easy.
have to say today. Rich, do you have anything else you want to tell our wonderful audience? Oh my gosh.
No, I just wanted to say thank you guys. Thank you for listening to Think Sync. I appreciate you guys listening to my thoughts and taking it in. And I hope you guys are walking away with more thoughts than you had recently and a different perspective. I come on here just to spout and to show a perspective and be a better person each day.
That's real.
So with that, thank you. Follow us on Instagram and Spotify and listen to us on YouTube. Um, and with that being said, let's sink or swim.
Peace.
Peace.